Hey guys, thanks for tuning us in for this 31st episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests for this episode include former presidential candidate Ralph Nader. We'll also visit with author Danielle Gill, NFL player Sam Acho, and country singer Bree Bagwell. If you would, please take the time to subscribe, share with your friends, leave a comment, and also leave some feedback for us as well. Our first guest is NFL linebacker, formerly from the University of Texas, Sam Acho. He's got a new book coming out tomorrow called Let the World See You: How to Be Real in a World of Fakes. First off, Sam, thanks so much for taking the time, brother.
No, Cameron, thanks for having me.
Now, Sam, talk about the new book, Let the World See You. And when you think about an NFL player writing a book, this is not what you expect. And Sam, quite honestly, pleasantly surprised. And tell us where this book came from for you, and how important it is for folks right now with everything they're going through.
Yeah, with everything going on right now in our country, right? We talk about COVID, everybody being at home and being isolated, and now we're teaching and we're parenting and we're trying to be a good spouse and work, and then race stuff going on in our country. There's so much going on. Yes, I play linebacker in the NFL, but it's not a football book by any stretch of the imagination. It's a book about authenticity, about vulnerability, a book about the freedom that comes when you're you. Because I believe when you're you, I believe that, number one, God gets the glory. I believe that the people around you benefit and that the world around you thrives.
And this seems like something that has been on my mind, and several of the guests that I've spoken to over the last couple of weeks. It's not all about the individual.
Yeah, it's not. It's about, in all reality, it's about, what I believe, put it this way, is a few things. Number one, when we are vulnerable and authentic, it allows other people to be free and vulnerable and authentic as well, right? I kind of start off the book with the story of me actually losing a friend. I lost a mentor, and he was 70-something years old. He was a next-door neighbor, and he had cancer, and he was fighting it for years. Nothing was working, and we didn't know why, and he posted a message on Facebook asking for permission to leave. He said, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to see Jesus, right? That's what he said. And I said, okay, well, before you go, how do you respond to a question like that, right? So I said, before you go, selfishly, I said, give me what you got. I need to hear any advice that you've learned. What do you know? And he said, man, Sam, there's two things. Number one, that the most important thing you can do on this earth, there's nothing of greater value than this, that get to know Jesus intimately. There's no greater joy you'll get on this earth than getting to know Jesus. And it's a mutually beneficial relationship, right? God gets no greater joy than when you get to know Jesus. And then number two, he said, Sam, the last thing I want you to know is that you are worth getting to know. Never forget that. You are worth getting to know. And those would be the last words I heard from my dear friend, right? But that's what this book is about. This book is about what it means to be seen, to be known, and to be loved. It's not only about you. Being you isn't just for you. Being you frees up others to be themselves as well.
And as a NFL player, I mean, how different is that mindset than other players, not only in the NFL but college, and then the business and industry as well, going through the process of the book?
Yeah, so even being vulnerable, real, and authentic, and letting the world see you. Yes, it has its place in the NFL locker room, right? Okay, I get it. I'm an NFL player. How do I let the world see me? But as an individual, as a human being, as a husband, as a father, how do I let my wife see me? How do I let my kids see me? How do I let my friends see me, right? If I'm working, how do I let my coworkers see me? Because when I do, and when I have the courage to be real, it gives them an opportunity to be real and authentic as well. And so it's not just for anybody who's an athlete, right? Whether football, basketball, track and field, whatever. Though it has its place in those fields, it's also for anybody who's ever dealt with any kind of shame or guilt or fear.
And Sam, how important do you think it is for you? You talked about the transparency, but it does open doors, because as Christians, a lot of times you get questioned about, you guys just do things this way, do things this way. But whenever you break it down and show humanity, I mean, how much different is the reception from those you're visiting with as well?
Oh, absolutely. I remember my first year in the NFL being a Christian, and I would get angry. I'd get mad at practice or get in a fight or something, right? I'm a competitor just like everybody else who's in the NFL, and people would look at me and they'd say, oh, Sam, well, you're a Christian. Christians aren't supposed to get mad. And I didn't know at the time what to do with that. How do I respond to that? And so I said, okay, well, let me try not to get angry, right? But the real me is a guy who's a competitor, a fiery competitor, and who gives God glory by the way I compete. I give God glory by the gifts he gave me to compete, to be great. And so for me to downplay that and not get angry or not compete to the highest level, right, that would be, almost like the Bible talks about, like, you're the light of the world, right? Nobody gets a lamp and puts it under, covers it up, but you put it on a stand so the world can see, right? Like, that's like me hiding the gifts that God gave me. And so to that point of when we are authentic to who God made us to be, God gets the glory from that. When we are who God made us to be, people around us benefit from that. And then when we're who God made us to be, the world will thrive when we're us.
That is right. And Sam, I want to make sure and let folks know where they can find more information about the book and everything else you got going on as well.
Absolutely. Anybody who wants to find out anything about the book, which comes out tomorrow, couldn't be more excited. It's go to samachobook.com. You can order the book right there, SAMACHO book.com. And it's also available anywhere you get books, Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy books. Available, audiobook, etc. You want to follow me on social media at Sam Acho. But, man, I'm so excited about this message. Cameron, thank you so much for having me. I got to end it with a hook of horns if possible, but I know this probably wouldn't be allowed in these parts.
That's right. Well, Sam, great to visit with you, brother. Looking forward to spending some more time with my copy of the book, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Our next podcast guest is author, and I'll let her explain herself a little bit better as well. We're going to get to know her together this morning. Danielle D'Souza Gill. And first off, Danielle, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Now, Danielle, the new book, The Choice, The Abortion Divide in America. Now, I wanted to delve into this a little bit on this episode. And first off, where did the concept, when did this become such a big thing in your heart, if you will?
Well, I graduated from college and moved to New York City, and I saw Governor Cuomo light up the Freedom Tower pink to celebrate the fact that they legalized 9-month abortions for no medical reason. And that's legal in 7 states now. So I kind of just saw the radicalization of the Democratic Party and how I felt like the pro-life movement seemed very sequestered. And I felt like more of us needed to get involved and more of us needed to start speaking up on what I think is really one of the most devastating issues of our time.
And how much has the debate changed since 1973?
It's really changed a lot. You know, back then in 1973, when Roe v. Wade was passed, they asked questions like, when does life begin? And, you know, what could be going on in the womb? And maybe there's potential life in the womb. But I think now with the development of medical technology and the ultrasound and the fact that we can hear the heartbeat just a few weeks into the pregnancy, see the baby, I think it just really shows the fact that there is really no ambiguity here. We know that there is a life in the womb during pregnancy. And even when we look at viability, we see that babies are born earlier and earlier and earlier as technology improves and can live on their own outside the womb.
And what do you think to the different methodologies, the different the yeses or nos? I mean, it's a left and right issue. Is there really a middle ground on it?
No, I really don't think so, because I kind of look at some of those questions like, maybe, you know, I'm personally pro-life, but I can't impose my views on someone else, or, you know, things like that. But no matter what, your view is going to be imposed on someone. And in the case of abortion, it's the child. There's really no way around it. So there's a life that's either going to be ended or not. And I think so often we forget that we're literally choosing the life and death of another human being, an innocent human being. And I think also if people try to make arguments like, well, maybe, you know, life begins at the 6-month point, or maybe it begins at the, you know, month point, or whatever it is, there just really isn't any reason to think that, because there's no clear point other than at conception to show that, hey, this is a life, this is when life begins.
And what has been the feedback that you've been getting from the folks that you were interviewing and reviewing the statistics, if you will?
Well, I think that probably one of the saddest things was looking at actually how it affects abortion survivors. There are babies who actually survive the abortion procedure, which means that they tried to abort the baby, they tried to kill it, but it actually lived through the procedure. And many of the people who lived through it actually have cerebral palsy today. They have perhaps, a physical deformity and things like that. And I think it's just so sad to see kind of this walking testament to what abortion does. Abortion is one of the only healthcare procedures where if it's successful, you actually kill a person. And if it's not successful, someone lives through it. So I think that for me was a real eye-opener. And another eye-opener was actually hearing from, women who had gone through it who never got to see their ultrasound. They never got to see any of the truth of what was going on. And I think so often, Planned Parenthood and clinics like that, and even Democrats oppose laws saying that women need to be informed. They oppose laws saying that women need to know what's going on in order to have this healthcare procedure. But the left really wants to pull the wool over women's eyes. They want them to go in there. They don't want a waiting period, and they don't want them to know what's going on.
And how much do you think it is a sexist, an ageist, a race line that's being drawn in the sand but between the two parties?
Well, I think abortion is very racist. We see that the roots of Planned Parenthood they really go back to not the women's rights movement, not, any kind of feminism. It actually comes from Margaret Sanger and her eugenics ideology. And that's why Planned Parenthood places their clinics in minority communities. That's why a black baby is more likely to be aborted than a white baby. That's why a little girl baby is more likely to be aborted than a little boy baby. And so I think that, we can't distance ourselves from this. It's very clear that there's racism, there's sexism, and it's happening to very innocent babies in the womb.
And Danielle, if folks want to find out more information about the study that you've done, also and the book, and anything else you've got going social media wise, where can people keep up with all that information?
Yeah, I'm Danielle D'Souza Gill on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of those places. And my book is called The Choice: The Abortion Divide in America. So definitely stay tuned and follow along. It's been really cool to see people's responses to the book. And so I've been sharing those on my social media too.
And with 2020 the way it is, and you being doing so much study, how has study changed for you as you delve in on other subjects as well in 2020?
Man, there's so much that I think we can always be learning. So that's why I felt like, it's so important that we actually dive into the statistics. We actually dive into the deeper heart of the matter. I think so often people get their news just purely from social media or, kind of could be those quick ways to see it. But I think it's important that we really dive into, what are these issues and how can we know more about why we believe what we believe? And even if we look now at the election and the Supreme Court nomination, I think it'll be really interesting to see people kind of follow along with Amy Coney Barrett's hearings.
And have you seen any stepping across the lines on either side from the folks that have checked out the book? Yeah,
I actually have. I've seen a lot of people who are apolitical, but who are kind of interested in this book. It's, a bright pink book, and it's not really a traditional, right to life book in the sense that there isn't like a silhouette of a pregnant woman with a baby inside, and it's not kind of, off-putting like that. It's very different. And I've seen a lot of people say, I'm actually just really interested in this issue because I don't know a lot about it. And then after they've read it, they're like, wow, this actually is a human rights issue. I'm not religious, I'm not conservative, but I actually see the science behind it, and I see that this is killing. So definitely, I think there are many people that can be reached with this book, and also just the fact that, we're kind of the pro-life generation. I think that we're going to kind of see the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and we're going to see the culture really shift on this.
And bringing out the science and the fact side of it, and I know a lot of people want to push it away because there's religion involved and politics involved. But when you get science and the facts down on paper, do you think that that helps the case over the emotions that are attached to politics and religion?
Yeah, I think that the science is kind of where I start the book. I start it by even talking to embryologists and saying, what about the fact that the left argues that this is a polyp? Is this a polyp? What about the fact that the left equates this to an appendix? Is this an appendix? I mean, if you actually take their arguments and dive into them, they really make absolutely no sense based on the science. But I think they say those things because they want to make you feel like it's nothing. They want to make you feel like it's a cluster of cells only. And I mean, obviously, we're all made of cells. So sure, okay, we're all clusters of cells, but we're also human beings. And so when you dive into the science, you can see that, no, this is a human being. This has like the complete DNA of its own. That is not the mother's. It's not the father's. It's unique. And so I think the science is really important. But even when it comes to the emotional side, I think it actually really does tug on the heartstrings in the sense that, wow, it breaks my heart to see that the left is using kind of these tactics of really just leading women down the wrong path and kind of ruining many of their relationships, ruining many of their lives, when in fact adoption is such a great option that allows the woman to go on with her life. And maybe that wasn't something that she wanted to raise, but that's okay because the child can be with people who love it and who want to raise it.
And for you, what was the majority of the doctor's opinions that you visited with?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually shocking because when you step outside of the abortion debate, it's so obvious what's happening in the womb. I mean, doctors that you talk to, even if you go to just not Planned Parenthood, but let's say you go to get prenatal care, they say, oh, look, it's your baby girl. Oh, look, it's your baby boy. Oh, look, they obviously have genitalia in the first trimester. I mean, they have their heartbeat. They have all these things. So every doctor knows exactly what's going on in the womb. And, that's why people say like, oh, let me feel your tummy to feel the baby kick. That's why they have gender reveal parties. That's why there are baby showers. That's why, when someone posts even a photo of their ultrasound on social media, people comment and say, wow, congratulations, and things like that. So it doesn't actually take, great leaps and bounds to know what's happening in the womb. But the left likes to act like there's great mysticism around what's happening in the womb. And it's actually really quite obvious.
And Danielle, how has marketing been different for you this time around because of 2020?
Well, I've been doing a lot of radio and Zoom and obviously things like that just to make sure I reach as many people as possible. It was definitely really cool to go see my book in Barnes & Noble and things like that. But I think it's just been such a crazy, crazy year. And I'm actually so fortunate that my book is coming out right around the time of the Supreme Court nomination, because I think so many people are going to be talking about Roe v. Wade and abortion as it's kind of drawn to the forefront of this election and to the Supreme Court hearing.
And again, Danielle, give folks more information about where they can get information about the book again.
Yeah, so I'm Danielle D'Souza Gill on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and my book is called The Choice: The Abortion Divide in America. And I really debunk the left's most popular pro-choice arguments in each chapter. Not just a fetus is a cluster of cells or my body, my choice, and kind of all the most common things we hear, but also things that people actually ask me and argue, like, how could we pay for these children with our welfare state? What if the child grows up in an abusive home? If they're an unwanted person? What about if this child grows up to be a criminal? Things like that they actually ask me. So I actually dive into all kinds of questions and all kinds of topics that relate to this issue because I think it's important that we actually talk about what people are thinking.
That's right. And Danielle, it's been great to visit with you. Great to meet you, first off. And hopefully, best of success with the book, and we can catch up again real soon.
I would love that. Thank you for having me.
The first time I got to see her was a few years back, opening for Trace Adkins over at Fort Sill for the big 4th of July thing they had over there. Bree Bagwell on the line with us. And first off, Bree, thank you so much. And it's good to get to visit with you.
Good morning. Yes, I'm excited too. We played in Pueblo, Colorado on Saturday night. So we were in the van for 16 hours yesterday. So if I'm a little brain dead, I'm getting it together. Been a crazy weekend being back on the road finally.
What was it like the taking the stage the first time? How hard was it to maybe control the emotions as you got out there the first time?
Oh yeah, I totally teared up. I'm still in that phase where I'm still getting emotional on stage. we had a show in Roswell on Friday and kind of got, a standing ovation and an encore. And I was just like a wreck on stage. I don't think I ever took performing for granted. I've missed it so much, and people are so excited, and it's overwhelming, but I'm also like, I forgot how to play this song. There's definitely a learning curve getting back into it.
What has been the thing that you have focused the most on since we had all this extra time? Is it the songwriting? Is it maybe an instrumentation or the vocals that you've been working on in some of your extra time?
I've definitely been writing a lot of songs, but I actually launched a brand new clothing collection, which is totally not something I thought I would ever have time for, but quarantine really created this unique opportunity for me to do something that I wouldn't have time to do normally. So the clothing line, it's with my friend that owns the Glam Wagon, and we launched it on Monday, and it almost sold out in 48 hours. Everything was almost gone. So it was extremely successful. And so I tried to look at quarantine as like an opportunity rather than, just the total awfulness that I could have, because it was just so heartbreaking. But we just put our nose down and worked and wrote songs and launched a clothing line. Why not?
Now, did you find was the inspiration for the writing the songs, was it hard to find, or were you maybe inspired a bit more because of the circumstances?
Yeah, I think I'm a pretty disciplined songwriter now. I wrote at Sony up in Nashville for 3 years, and then I'm part of like a lot of songwriting groups where I write one song a week, regardless of whether I'm inspired or not. So I'm kind of used to not feeling, if I'm not feeling inspired, sometimes those are the best songs that come out, even when I'm not feeling it, and I force myself to sit down and write. So, I always try to tell songwriters, if they ever wanted advice, it's like, man, treat it like a work day kind of, and you never know what's going to come out.
Now, where you talk about the times that you're uninspired, sometimes being maybe the most fruitful. Give me an example of one that maybe you thought was maybe you thought you'd laid an ugly egg and turned out to be something totally different in the final product.
Yeah, there was a song called "Asphalt and Concrete" that was on. It's the first song off of my record, and I was actually in Las Vegas, and in this group that I'm a part of, you have to turn this song in no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, or you get kicked out of the group. No exceptions.
Wow.
So I was in Las Vegas with no guitar, and so I was playing like this silly little keyboard on my laptop, trying to make music that I could sing to, and then I could get back to the blackjack table. And out came this song that was just about my life. It was kind of very autobiographical, and it just kind of fell out. And then it ended up being, number one in Texas and one of my favorite songs on the record.
And how different is the landscape? You meld things like you talk about Texas, Nashville, and now, I guess fashion line. Or does that mean you're going to have to branch out into New York? Is that the next obvious one?
I am open to all the possibilities, but also seeing how much we can do remotely. It's been amazing. We like right now we're doing a radio call via Zoom. We haven't really ever done any of these things, and quarantine has really forced us to. So I kind of think like the possibilities are endless. But yeah, I'll go to New York. I'll go wherever.
So they make the call. That's all it takes, right?
Right.
Now, Bree, who were the early influences, the ones that maybe you fell in love with music as a result of?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I grew up in the 90s. I think 90s country is just everything. I still love it. I still play it a lot. I was a huge Vince Gill fan, still am. Faith Hill, Dixie Chicks, Shania, Travis Tritt, that era, I think really, really influenced me. My parents always loved Johnny Cash and Lillian Whalen, of course, but growing up in the 90s, I just think that era really shaped my music and my songwriting.
And you've got a duet partner there with you today. I could hear the
bird.
That's ambiance. That's good stuff.
I know it's beautiful down here in Texas, but my dog was just scratching at the door trying to get out, so I thought you meant my dog. That's my normal duet partner.
Now, you talked about having to change things up. How different has the marketing looked this year and this time around as opposed to the single releases you've had before?
Oh, well, I mean, I think everything's different. The way that we're, being careful with shows as well. A lot of people are kind of getting a lot of heck for having shows because it's bringing people together at a time where we shouldn't be bringing people together. So I guess my answer is careful. We're being very careful with what we do because we want to do what's right, even though it's maybe the hard thing. We want to do what's right, and so my music video we filmed during quarantine with one cameraman and at a house, so it wasn't at a public place, and I spent $99 on Amazon to buy a wedding dress and filmed a music video in quarantine. So everything is just, it's all adapted and it's all unique and new. But I think that's fun. It's a challenge to figure it out.
And right now, obviously, I try to stay off of social media as much as possible because there's so much heaviness, so much division, and for you to be able to, the music makes a difference and can really change things in people's lives, and for you to be able to put a smile on somebody's face that's going through all this heaviness, I mean, how cool is that on a personal level for you?
Yeah, I think, at first, the first thing that I've said as soon as all this happened, I was like, well, we found out exactly how unessential we are as musicians. And I would laugh. And then now that we're back, the things that I'm hearing and the things that people are saying, and like you said, like how much they need live music and how therapeutic it is and how much it brings people happiness and brings everyone together. It's like, okay, we actually are incredibly essential. We just couldn't work. And that's, I don't know, it warms my heart. It just does not get old to have people just gush about how they are so excited live music is back.
And Bree, as you start adding new dates, obviously new music as well, where do folks keep up with the ever-changing schedule? I know it's kind of back and forth, right?
Yes, it is. But we're adding and subtracting dates. So the best place is the website, BreeBagwell.com, BRIBagwell.com. But we have about 8 or 9 shows in October. So things are coming back, but I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I am on TikTok now, like the cool kids are. And so you can find me anywhere.
I see Lisa over there watching, and I know that she's going to be judging TikTok videos. She's got to be the biggest TikTok judge, right?
Oh, but she's so good at it. I told her, I'm like, you have to help me, and she's helping me. I'm getting Lisa smooth TikTok lessons.
Has she taught you the park in the middle of a traffic jam and get out and dance on the freeway?
I think she told me, okay, so here's what I did, but you can't do that.
Well, Bree, it is truly been great to get to visit with you today. Really enjoying the new single, and hopefully after all this craziness gets over, we'll get to see each other face to face, and hope you have a great rest of your week.
I love that. Thank you so much for chatting.
And our final guest will be former presidential candidate Ralph Nader. He's got a brand new book we'll be talking about. Got the book Wrecking America with Mark Green. We've got Ralph Nader on the line with us this morning. And first off, Ralph, thank you so much for taking the time to be back on the show.
You're welcome, Cameron.
Yeah, now tell us about the book and obviously the timeliness of it as well, Ralph.
Well, it's a book designed to be used, not just read. I mean, we do want an informed electorate, and there are a lot of insider books on Trump, but this one really lays it out. The corruption is at a record high in the Trump regime. It's enmeshed in lies. It's enmeshed in self-enrichment. It's enmeshed in dismantling the health and safety protections of the American people, economic protections, all these laws that we helped pass to protect people from corporate crime, corporate deceit, deceptive advertising, gouging, pollution. He's just swept aside, and he's open about it. He's basically said, we're not going to enforce these laws. I think that's very serious, and it happens to come under one of the provisions in the Constitution he's violating, which is presidents are supposed to faithfully execute the laws. So we make this very readable, and I do address some of my pages to Trump voters, because I don't stereotype Trump voters. They're not all alike. They have different reasons for supporting Trump. One of them is almost never mentioned, which is hereditary Republicans, Cameron. There are hereditary Republicans who will never vote for Democrat, and they'll vote for anybody on the Republican ticket. But I think others don't have high expectations of what presidents should be doing for the country, and therefore they are much more susceptible to being lied to, being given false promises, and not measuring how he is indeed wrecking America.
And Ralph, I want to ask you a little bit. You know, you ran for president 4 different times. I wanted to ask you what the landscape out there like with social media and obviously this year with social distancing. How has the campaign looked different this year than times you've seen in the past?
Well, anybody can get on social media anonymously and say all kinds of things that are wrong and dangerous, lying, false. I think the big problem, Cameron, with social media is anonymity. You know, when you write a letter to the editor of a print newspaper, you got to put your name on. And anonymity allows people to say terrible things without any responsibility. And I think Facebook and Google and all the others, they've got to deal with that.
And for you, I know that, one of the words that you hear from the right is socialism, talking about the left, and you hear the opposite coming back. And I know that you address that in the book as well.
Yeah, well, right now, the COVID-19 spreader-in-chief, Donald J. Trump, he infected so many people in the White House, for example. He's being taken care of by socialized medicine over at Walter Reed Army Hospital. Isn't that ironic? When people, bridle when they hear the word socialism, I say, oh, you mean the post office? Oh, you mean your public drinking water system, your public schools, your public library, the Tennessee Valley Authority, on and on. So we have a mixed system, capitalist system, socialist system, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And so people got to start informing themselves and thinking for themselves.
And I know that one of the things that a lot of folks liked 4 years ago about Trump was that he was not a lifelong politician. But do you think that has played into some of the missteps, if you will, over the last 4 years?
Yeah, very much so. People say, well, he's not a politician, he's rich, nobody can buy him. Well, he's bought himself. He's turned Washington over to Wall Street more than any other prior president. He gives them whatever they want. He doesn't enforce the law against corporate crooks on Wall Street. He deregulates them and makes deregulation sound good. He doesn't talk about not controlling pesticides that are affecting small children, allowing coal ash to pollute people's lungs, putting out more methane, more oil drilling off the coast. It's interesting, he stopped the oil drilling expansion off South Carolina, Florida, and Georgia. I wonder why. It's because Republicans there don't want their beaches fouled. They don't want their property devalued. So in this book, we talk about all the ways Trump has engaged, not just in bigotry and he's a sexual predator, but how he has harmed all people, red state, blue state, conservative, liberal. And you just can't give him a pass because he nominates judges that are representing corporate interests just because they're against abortion. You can't give him a pass because he says he's cut taxes when he's cut taxes overwhelmingly for the top 1% of the rich and drained the investment in rebuilding and repairing America in every community, the so-called infrastructure program he promised in 2016 and never did anything about.
And again, Ralph, I always want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can find not only more information about the book, where they can purchase that, and everything else you've got going on as well, sir.
Yeah, they can get my column free. Go to Nader.org. As to where to get the book, Wrecking America, very easy read, large print, very factual. Go to Nader.org. People know how to get books online. They can get books in bookstores. But if you want more specifics, go to Nader.org.
All right. Well, Ralph, always great to visit with you, sir. I hope you have a great weekend, and look forward to talking again soon, sir.
Thank you, Cameron. Let's look for good weather in Oklahoma with enough rain, eh?
Exactly right. Good to talk to you.
Bye-bye now.
Again, thanks for tuning us in for this 31st episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a question, some feedback, or anything you'd like to know, you can always follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter, all at GQ with Cam. If you'd like to help with the sponsorship of this podcast, please click on the support tab and follow the instructions. Also, if you have a special guest idea, send me an email, cameron@kwhw.com. We'll be back with episode number 32 coming up tomorrow.